It's about a character who is trying to uncover the truth behind some ancient prophecies. But the more she digs, the more she realizes that the people around her might not be who they seem. There's a lot of suspense and mystery involved, and the relationships between the characters are full of surprises. It's a story that will keep you guessing and make you question everything you thought you knew. Chapter 75. Our sessions with the royals became a daily ritual, each lasting at least an hour. They would gather around me, their presence a constant reminder of the weight of my task as the central figure in their quest. Ryder, my attentive and supportive assistant, would bring me an assortment of teas and snacks, their caring nature evident in each thoughtfully prepared offering. The others, including the knowledgeable Ajax, maintained a facade of normalcy, engaging in casual conversation, but their eager glances betrayed their true focus. Each time I sighed or looked up from the weathered pages, their chatter would cease, and all eyes would turn to me expectantly. I'd resume my search in silence, the pressure of their hopes palpable in the air, intensifying my already determined and focused demeanor. I scoured the book with diligence, reading snippets here and there, desperately seeking any clue that might leap out at me. The tome was a treasure trove of history and lore, containing everything from ancient royal lineages to intricate family trees spanning countless generations. Ajax's words about the historically significant figures Archer and Willow found confirmation within its pages, bringing their importance into sharper focus. Hand-drawn illustrations of long, forgotten castles and epic battles from ages past captivated my imagination, offering glimpses into a world that existed before my ancestors' time. The sheer scope of the book's contents was both awe-inspiring and overwhelming, a testament to the passage of time and the rich tapestry of our shared history. Yet, despite the wealth of information at my fingertips, nothing resonated with me on a deeper level. The frustration of fruitless searching gnawed at my resolve, adding to the pressure I already felt as the protagonist in the folding drama. On the 7th day of my relentless pursuit, I made a pivotal decision. Abandoning the random approach, I turned resolutely to the first page, my determination unwavering. I was resolved to uncover the book's secrets through methodical study, channeling all my focus and diligence into this new strategy. As I began this new phase of my search, I could feel the weight of the royals' expectations, but I steeled myself, knowing that my role as the central figure in their quest demanded nothing less than my utmost effort. The opening lines greeted me, their simplicity belying the profound truths they held. In the beginning, there were three, to create balance. The powers could not be given to one, so the shapeshifters, the spellcaster, and the nature bender all thrived, spreading and growing. Powers were given from the originals to the secondaries, who then gave it those they called their children, humans deemed worthy enough to receive them. Through acts of bravery, through sacrifice, through seduction, gifts were dispersed among the humans. Slowly, the power drained from the originals, given until no more could be gave. As I read these words, a sense of anticipation stirred within me. Perhaps, in this systematic approach, I would finally unlock the mysteries that had eluded me for so long. Humans named the powers, named those who gave them without ever understanding the magic that was bestowed upon them. Some were frightened of the very blessing that had been bestowed upon. The magic that threads the very universe together is not for every human. Werewolves, the children of the shapeshifters, have many purposes in this world, designed to be wild and ruthless in the face of fear. They are great protectors, protectors of the humans, protectors of the natural world, protectors of each other. Through the wolf, they find their roots in family, in togetherness. A rogue wolf is a dead and dangerous wolf. The words continued, started to blur under my intense gaze. I felt my head bob. Oh George, Ryder sighed softly. I was tucked in an overstuffed armchair in Ajax Susothan had been for some time, judging by the numbness in my legs and the lurching nods that my head kept dipping into. I'm fine. The slight slur in my words said otherwise. You need to rest. You don't have all your strength back and it's getting late. I should have taken you home hours ago. What was I thinking? He mumbled, talking more to himself than me. Wait, I think I'm onto something. It was a lie, but I said it anyway, as if I could put any more pieces of this puzzle together right now. Ryder, maybe you should stay a little longer, Jack suggested from behind his desk, leaping to his feet while Ryder scooped me into his arms. I lolled my head against the chest of the man who had once been my mate, the man who had done his best to romance me, who loved me, and marked me as his own. My brow furrowed. The marking. There was something there. Something that I had missed. Look at her. Ajax. She needs to go home. Maybe you two can just stay in one of the guest bedrooms here. Get an early start tomorrow. I didn't have to say anything for Ryder to know what I was thinking. She spent enough time here to hate the sight of this place. Been taking her home and making sure she gets the rest that she needs. He said sharply, "Does she have siblings?" I mumbled into the soft t-shirt. Who the goddess? Ajax cleared his throat. A little awkward. I mean, she wasn't exactly born from what I understand. It's hard to have siblings if the universe created you. Unless. Good night. Ajax, Ryder said briskly. I didn't remember much of the drive back to the house, but I did remember curling up on Ryder's thighs when he sat on my couch. And I could remember the little chunks of watermelon that he fed me when I complained that I was feeling snack-why. That waking up was not nearly as gentle as falling asleep, though I remembered dozing off on the couch. I woke up in my own bed. Ryder was beside me, bare chest with an arm covering his eyes from the morning sun. I tried to shut my eyes. It couldn't have been past 8 in the morning, and with the late night we had, I needed all the sleep I could get. I closed my eyes. I tried to dream. I thought warm, fuzzy thoughts, but there was an urgency in my belly that I couldn't ignore. I slipped out of bed quietly, putting on a pair of leggings and a t-shirt. Though the leggings were stretchy enough to hide some of the weight that I was still trying to gain back and stayed up well enough, I could still feel the bagginess under my butt. It was incentive to sit back down at the kitchen table and make myself eat a breakfast while my blood rushed through me. I was getting better every day, stronger. The weight would come back, and if it didn't, that was okay because I would still be doing my best. But after I stirred Greek yogurt and frozened my oatmeal, I felt like I couldn't sit still. I needed to be at the place that made me ill to visit it. After being trapped at the Royals' vacation cabin and resisting nausea when Ryder drove me up their driveway, I wanted to go there. Now I left Ryder a brief note, ending it with a smiley face. I didn't have the heart to wake him if he was only going to sit there and stare at a wall vacantly or try and make small talk with the Queen again. Noah, the royal guard and Ajax's right-hand man, didn't blink at my arrival until he saw me get out of the driver's side. Feeling strong, he wondered. So it would seem. The drive here was okay, but if I stayed as long as I had yesterday, Ajax would be driving me home. I let myself in and went straight to his office. Only part of me was aware that it was these people who pulled out my fingernails. But after all this time together, after sharing hurried lunches, laughing over their daughters' made-up scenarios, they were family now. Ugly and broken some days, but close and loving. And when I saw Ajax sitting behind his desk, staring at the map on his wall, eyes glassy, I could feel his emotions crashing into me: frustration, desperation, hopelessness, guilt. "You're here early," he mumbled, tiredness in his voice. I couldn't sleep, I admitted. He gave me a tiny smile. "Same, but Ryder is right. This is taking a lot out of you. You need to rest, and I need to remember that this isn't your war anymore. I can't let it go." He let out a little breath, his smile softening into something real. "Good, because I did some thinking and you might be able to confirm some things for me." Chapter 76. And so began the long morning. We moved from Ajax's office into what he called his workroom. There were no elegant leather chairs, no pretty little mats that hung from walls, no stately signs of glamour. It was a plain space with a heavy door that could be closed with a satisfying thud. Bare walls aside from the ones with the whiteboards and a small desk that looked like it had been inherited and lovingly abused over its years. "This is where I do all of my best thinking," he explained, almost looking a little shy, like he was letting me into some small private world. "The office isn't good enough for you," I teased back. "Sometimes, image is more important than function in this role. I find my office distracting some days," he explained, more serious than I expected. But it turned out that the whiteboards were handier than I could have imagined, because magic was many wonderful things, but it was certainly confusing. So there are the original 3, and there is almost nothing known about them other than the fact that they were created to make balance and that they are all dead. Well, we don't know for sure that they are all dead, but we have to assume as much based on what happens next," Ajax explained, writing words on the board. "Shapishitters, spellcasters, nature benders." The original 3 then became the secondary 9. Each category got 3 words under their title: shapeshifters, vampire, werewolf, workat, spellcaster, wizard, witch, alchemist, nature bender, fairy, siren, wind howler. "These things are real," I said, my voice flat and dead to my own ears. "These were the things I read about in mythology books. These were no the things of real life. They couldn't be blood-sucking humans, women singing sailors to their deaths. Ho. I didn't even know what some of these things were, much less the lore surrounding them. And they had been living around me. Of course they're real. Or at least, they were. The origin stories range dramatically, similar to religion. One small tick hundreds of thousands of years ago makes a big difference now. You know, sirens like to believe more of a Greek root. Vampires are something like atheist, not really caring where they come from. Workats were believed to have come from Egypt, following Bastet. But with you seeing the moon goddess, I'm starting to think that some of our theories may be right. All right. I resisted the urge to scrub my face and show any sign that this might be too much. I could have a mental breakdown about all of this later. Through creating the secondary lines, the original 3 made the choice to destroy themselves. Giving power was their gift. Staying alive without magic within them after they had given it all away was not something they could master. So, the secondary 9 evolved to be able to drain a power, source the magic they gave to others, and as long as their children survived, they survived. Can we just? The words died in my mouth. This was unreal. And it was messy. "Can you just tell me what each of them does?" I asked. "Like each species?" "Sure. Of course. Sorry. This must be a lot." He had no idea, but I was still thankful when he scrawled on the board in front of him. When the marker squeaked on the board, I gave myself the opportunity to suck in a couple deep breaths. Then, I read: wizards, restoration and conjuration; witches, destruction and enchanting; alchemists, potions and poisons; extinct; fairies, protectors of woodland areas, glamorous and seduction; sirens, protectors of the sea, takes power from water, can compel; wind howler, protectors of the sky, can change weather patterns. He made no changes to shapishitters, obviously thinking that it was all self-explanatory. Though witch, though. Beside workat. He did write the word extinct. "Extinct?" I whispered. "It's a damn shame." Ajax sighed. The workats were predominantly from South America and the Middle East. Fierce things. If you think facing down a shifted werewolf is scary, you haven't seen a shifted cat. Bloody massive. All teeth. Just pure predators. When we lost the last of them, it was a great loss, even if it was a gain. How could something like that be a gain? I demanded. Well. It was awful. Obviously. It was a great tragedy and we felt powerless to stop it with all of the hunting that was happening. Humans were too scared to know any better. But when a species dies and the secondary of the group is no longer able to survive, there is a transfer of power, and that comes to the rest of us in the class. So vampires and werewolves got a little boost. I pressed the heels of my hands against the side of my head, digging into my temples to fend off the headache. I can't even fathom that vampires are a thing right now. I confessed. A thing, for sure. And kind of assholes. If you ask me, Ajax said. Regardless, if the moon goddess mentioned her siblings, I think this would be the easiest connection to draw. She blamed it on her siblings. Yeah, I added. What would happen if something happened to the last werewolf? The power would go to the vampires, and I can see how that might be the obvious option. But vampires and werewolves have a treaty. We are not able to attack each other, and if we did, an outside species would be allowed to come in and slaughter us all in an effort to force the balance. Realistically, that wouldn't happen, but some species are crazy enough, so it makes the threat pretty real. Fairies would have killed us all by now if King Archer and King Leo hadn't shoved a treaty down their throats all those years ago. This is so political. I groaned. You have no idea, he said. Then a pause when he heard a pair of little feet on the floor above us. Clem is up. I'm going to check on her and cook her some breakfast. Would you like to have breakfast with us, or do you want to stay in here? He wondered. Ajax was kind and his daughter was adorable. My stomach was grumbling, but it was too reminiscent of the earlier days. You'll stay here, thanks. And so while he sang to his daughter and fried up some eggs, I stared at the whiteboard and tried to connect dots that I didn't understand. It was a sibling. The obvious choice were the vampires. The transfer of power was a clear motive, but Ajax seemed certain that it couldn't be them. I raised my hand for a moment, holding it still. If the moon goddess could just reach out to me, even for just a second, and point me in the right direction. But I stayed completely still and felt like an utter idiot. Ajax returned to a small plate of food for me and for himself. Can you show me who has treaties with who? I asked. Lines were drawn. Werewolves had a treaty with fairies. Fairies had a treaty with sirens. Vampires and witches and wizards were all linked together. Round and round it went, seeming like everyone was protecting each other. There was not a single line of magical creatures that was tied down by some law, aside from the extinct species, of course. So you guys are all fighting on the same side, or they are dead already, I said flatly. Jesus Christ. My thoughts exactly. Ajax agreed. He was grinning at me like he always did, but I could see the exhaustion in his features. For a man who cared so much about presentation. His was slipping. So, someone is coming after us. But we have no idea who. This is a nightmare. Indeed. But if you're willing to keep going, how would you feel about a conference? There is a massive meeting coming up soon. You can see all of these creatures firsthand. At the very least, it would be a cool experience for you. And maybe we can find out something. It felt like another dead end, but what choice did we have? I nodded my head. Chapter 77. Ryder studied me for a moment when I told him the plan that Ajax and I had concocted. There was a little sighing and even a couple of eye rolls, but he eventually shrugged. If you want to go through with this, then we're going, he said. It was then that I saw the dark circles beneath his eyes, the paleness of his skin. Despite the fact that we had several days together, despite the fact that I let him sleep in most days, the things we had gone through had taken their toll, and the battle felt like it was just beginning. Listen, I can go. You stay home. Play some video games. Go biking. Whatever you want to do, I suggested gently, taking his hands in mine. We can go grocery shopping before and make sure you have a fridge full of snacks. Georgia, if you're going, I'm going, he stated. I couldn't lie and say I didn't appreciate the offer. But this is my battle now. You gave me an out. You've given me 100 outs. This is something that neither of us necessarily anticipates. It's not fair that I'm pulling you down with me. I can do this with Ajax just fine. He and I will go to this conference and we will see if there is anything that stands out to us. More realistically, nothing is going to happen. We're going to go out. Then we are going to be in the same spot that we started at. It was depressing and awful to say out loud, but there was no denying the possibility. We were clinging to an ancient book and vague dreams that I had when my mind was not performing the way it should have been. For all of the years I had spent fighting against werewolf train, I knew absolutely nothing about it, and I wished every day that I had asked just a few more questions. Georgia, you going to a meeting of some of the most powerful creatures on this planet. They are going to be able to smell the human on you for a mile away. Even if I didn't care about this wolf, drain thing at all. There's no way that I would want you to go to that kind of an event without me. I'm going with Ajax and Keiko. I pointed out softly. A muscle in his jaw flickered. They made it pretty clear that they wouldn't protect you. I knew that arguing against him was useless. His mind had been made up, and I was entirely unhappy with the result in truth. So we prepared for the day together, and when it finally came, I couldn't help but stare at Ryder a little longer than usual. What? He wondered, peering down at his own chestnut brown suit jacket, searching for lint or an imperfection. I cleared my throat awkwardly and turned away, feeling my cheeks flame. I had seen this man naked, in a mountain bike jersey, in basketball shorts while lying on the couch eating pizza. But this was something else. The color of the suit made his hair seem browner, his eyes warmer despite their chilly hue. Clean-shaven and sharp, but smooth. You look really good, I said, staring in the bathroom mirror as I pushed a simple dime and stud through my earlobe. I was still trying to get comfortable in my cable knit gray dress. I had never really been much of a fashion gal behind high school and college trends, though I had always envied those who could pair items seamlessly, and I was still getting used to this version of my body. Warm hands curled around my waist. I watched the mirror, seeing him grin down at me. Gaze settled on my face. Our clothes clashed, the cold gray and the warm brown, but his grip was steady and his eyes were kind. The fire of my hair, the steadiness of his strength. I wanted to melt into him. I'm glad that you still like me, he murmured, tucking me up under his armor. Because the mate bond is gone. You thought I wouldn't find you to be a 10 anymore, because you've been hanging around with Ajax. I still remember all those Wolf magazines calling him a heartthrob before he found Keiko and took his role as king. Without the mate bond, you might be inclined to sway. I snorted, a little surprised that werewolves would have their own publications. Though, all things considered, it was the wildest thing I had learned recently. Ajax can be whatever he wants. HES, not you. And I don't like you. I love you. Ryder looked mighty pleased with himself when he undid the top button on his shirt, leaving a delicious triangle of exposed skin to tease me, right at the base of his throat. Ajax and Keiko picked us up in a vehicle that must have cost more than the average starter home. Both of them look incredible. Ajax was in a traditional black suit, looking as menacing as I had ever seen, and Keiko was wearing a suit as well, though hers was a stunning burnt orange. A white lacy camisole peeking underneath. It made her hair darker than obsidian. She was completely thunderous, and somehow, when she flashed me a smile, it didn't soften her at all. A queen through and through. Over the long drive, there was idle chatter. At least, I deemed it idle. Ajax and Ryder talked about werewolves threatening weaker packlands. Keiko was the one who brought up the political side of things, seeming to know exactly who hated who and pushed other issues like cash flow. I just kept my eyes closed for the most part, resting my head against the cool glass, and tried not to think about the fact that I was going into a building filled with creatures that I didn't understand. But Ryder's hand settled on my bare knee, and something restless within me settled. The conference AC is held in a city about 2 hours away from our quiet mountain town. I was almost startled by the hustle and bustle of city life all over again. It was bizarre to think that this had once been my life. I used to hang out at malls just like the ones I drove by, with crammed parking lots. My parents used to have one of those mega houses that rose up from the ground with a laughable yard. I used to wear luxury brands while side, eyeing the homeless on the city bus. Now I could hardly stand the kitten heels on my feet, and seeing all the people milling around unsettled me. We arrived at some luxury hotel, and Ajax walked to the lobby with Keiko's arm looped through his. He dropped the name of some fake company at the front desk attendant, and we were swept off. I don't know what I expected, but it was not this. The room was filled with people, just normal people, well-dressed, for sure. But this definitely could have just been a tech company conference. Something must have shown on my face because Ryder squeezed my hand in his own, tugging me along into the thick of it. There were dozens of people here. From what Ajax had said, each species was allowed to bring up to 6 representatives. So even though it seemed like I was in a room with lovely men and women, the people brushing past me could have been sirens, vampires, wind howlers. We moved to the snack table. Ajax and the lead, though he tensed when I saw the sweet treats. Keiko sensed this immediately and stroked a hand down his back, nudging a spinach and cheese scone into his hand. Ryder greedily piled a paper plate full of food, acting like I never fed him. My stomach was too knotted to even consider eating. King Ajax, a man greeted. He was absurdly tall, and when he shook Ajax's hand, I saw long pale fingers that were more bone than flesh. Something about him immediately put me on high alert, though there was nothing distinctly off-putting about him. Ajax grinned and shook his hand. "Max, how are you?" "Seeming to be better than you." The man leered, sucking in a deep breath through his nose. His pale blue eyes narrowed on me. "Last time you came to this, you announced that you might have an unkillable werewolf in your arsenal. Now you bring a sweet, fragile human along for the ride." A pink tongue darted out to wet his lips. She wouldn't happen to be a peace offering. Ajax's smile remained easy, and I wouldn't have read any danger from the king had Ryder not stiffened beside me. "You have your dealings with humans and we have ours," Ajax said firmly, but still friendly. "So you haven't discovered what a delicious snack they can be. Come on now. You know the laws. We aren't allowed to kill, but a little taste never hurt anyone. She would be a fine addition to my herd. She wouldn't even know. She has made it to a werewolf. So tread lightly," Ajax warned. Max jerked back as if smelling something foul. His leer came back a moment later, his fixation turning back to the king. "It's not often you trouble yourself with these trivial things, especially when they are so far away from Denver. I'm assuming you've heard the news then." "I hear a lot of things," Ajax sighed. "So maybe you haven't heard about the alchemist that will be joining us today," Max murmured, and like he knew that he had just dropped a bomb upon us. He sauntered away. Chapter 78. Ryder was immediately on alert, like he was on a swivel. He'd been back and forth around the room. Just a little while ago, I had been admiring how refined he looked, wrapped up in that suit. He was a businessman with control. But now, he looked positively feral, coming apart at the seams. "I don't see anyone new," he said through clenched teeth. "We can split up and look separately, then out around the room. I can remember most people from last year, and someone here would have loose enough lips to let a name slip. They always do." Vampire Deception by Drake Mason and Eli Drant. At the undocumented changeling and forced to code at a low-level ridge. It was Keiko who spoke, her voice quiet, but sharp. "We are not slitting up and putting our noses to the ground. Some of these people already think that we are godless dogs. We are not going to prove them right. But if you think we don't want to solve this, you are out of your mind. But Ryder, please consider the other factors at play here. This is not a hunt. This is not something we can accuse someone lightly. Is it suspicious? Yes, absolutely. Does that mean that anything? No, listen. The meeting is about to start. We will sit through it quietly and use our ears instead of our teeth." Ryder looked like he was fighting his demons, but Mick stepped up to a small podium and picked up a wireless microphone. When Ryder grabbed my hand, I wasn't sure if it was more grounding for me or him. On the brink of going utterly feral, he sought me out to keep him in his true self, to keep him mindful. And he was my anchor in a sea of creatures that shouldn't have existed, and quite frankly could have probably killed me with about as much as the snap of 2 fingers. Ajax and Keiko sat down, marking off her seat at the end of a row. Vaguely, in the back of my mind, I thought that this room and these chairs had probably been used for someone's upper-middle-class wedding. And now I was here, feeling like I was teetering on the edge of madness. The beautiful woman backing for the day smiled out at the small crowd, going through the agenda for the day while I struggled to grasp reality. Sirens, commanders of the sea, wind howlers, controllers of the sky. What was that man, Max? Was he a vampire like I suspected? What did Ajax mean when he said their own dealings with humans? Could they really have them housed like cattle? Are there any sirens here today? The woman on stage asked. Her question was met with a silence so strong and so loaded that it pulled me out of my downward spiral. Eyes moved around the room, looking at each other for guidance, or perhaps something less wholesome, like they were having their own suspicions confirmed. The anxiety brewing in my belly turned to a full boil when I saw Ajax and Keiko staring straight ahead. Mouth flat, features trained into a neutral expression. I turned to look at Ryder, but he squeezed my hand gently before our gazes connected and I forced myself to stop. Whatever this was, it was bigger than us right now. No sirens in attendance. The woman asked again. More silence, growing heavier by the second. The woman squared her shoulders and turned her attention to the werewolf king and queen. I'm going to assume that you are aware of the rumors. Are you able to confirm or deny anything at this time? We are unable to provide any information at this time, Keiko said, her voice final. How could an entire species go missing and no one knows anything? Someone demanded from the crowd. The rumors are all we have and they are pointing to the werewolves. We have been looking into it and have not been able to find anything tangible at this time. That doesn't mean that we don't spend every day looking for more information. That doesn't mean that we aren't trying to get to the bottom of this. I have some questions about that. Another person interjected. Last year, you come in with this man that you claim is not only unkillable but can also help you keep balance and order in your realm. Why are you not using him to help you? Didn't you claim that this man was able to have visions? Shouldn't he be able to confirm whether or not a werewolf is to cause for this? Where is he now? Did he die? The only glimpse of panic was Keiko's bouncing foot, but it would have been out of sight for most of the others. He is alive and well and he is still earning the extent of his powers. Like we said at our last meeting, a werewolf is only given this curse once every 200 years or so. Because of that, the documentation is incredibly limited. We are learning as we go. So you admit that there is a chance that something could be happening right under your noses. Ajax took over then, something in his chair like they were arguing over college football. There's a chance with every single one of us. There's a chance that humans have turned on us. I cannot say that a werewolf is not involved. I can say that werewolves have had an alliance with sirens since King Archer and Queen Ember fought in the war together. We have no reason and no desire to go against the sirens and certainly would not break at Reedy. Little bubbles of conversations rumbled through the crowd. I sat tense, waiting, but each side conversation dissolved and the woman at the podium plastered a smile on, turning the conversation to vampires. I went entirely rigid when the vampires admitted that they were still purchasing desperate humans, but claimed it was all according to parameters that had been set. In fact, they seemed to think that they were doing desperate humans a favor, especially a certain group, helping them pay for costly surgeries of loved ones. They just had to sell themselves for a few years. I resisted the urge to jam the heels of my hands into my eyes. The wind howlers came next. It was a wild conversation. The group saying they were doing as much as they possibly could to combat climate change and ease weather patterns. My head span a little and I started to feel a little dizzy. Then came the alchemist, and everyone perked immediately, though everyone else had given their updates from their seats. The alchemist rose to his feet. He was a short man with hair so white it was almost strange to look at. His clothing was a testament to his age, fashioned years before my time or even my parents' time. Even still, his face was devoid of any wrinkles, eyes sparkling with clarity. But there was something off, something strange about him. He seemed to waver under my gaze. We thought you were gone. Max, the vampire, gasped. For a man who sucked the blood of innocent humans. He seemed utterly startled. Obviously, he hadn't believed the rumor. You haven't come to any conferences in years. You were said to be extinct. Yet here you are, very much alive. The Mick said, a little barb to her words. Is there anything you would like to tell us now that you have returned? Well, as you can see, it is only me from my group. I cannot reveal much about my counterparts. You will understand later why I do not wish to say too much. Though we are not extinct, our numbers are severely lower than they have ever been. We have been hunted. The room sucked in a unanimous breath of astonishment. I didn't know much about this world. In fact, I was certain that I had barely scratched the surface, but even I understood the strength of the alliances and treaties. With the way Ajax and Keiko were acting, it was clear that even microaggression were not tolerated. Hunted, someone repeated. Yes, hunted down like dogs, which is quite ironic. Ajax finally showed a glimpse of humanity, flinching hard as if he had been slapped. Keiko stilled. You aren't implying. No, I am not implying. I'm telling you that werewolves slaughtered my people and those that survived barely made it out with their lives. Chapter 79, that is a massive accusation. Ajax stated, his body tightening. What proof do you have? What evidence is there? These people had become my family in their own disastrous way. But now, when I looked at the poised Keiko, all I saw was the bloodthirsty woman who had my nails pulled out one by one. Could they have really done that? Could they have exterminated an entire species off the face of the earth? When she had wanted to hurt me, her people had let her. No, not Ajax and not Keiko. Even Hades with his crimson eyes and deadly powers was not violent and vengeful at his core. Defensive and occasionally impulsive, as I believe they could be. They would never do something like that. I protested, my voice filling the room before I could decide against it. All eyes turned to me then, the kings and queens included. Had I known back then that all these creatures existed, I might have wanted to hunt them all down like trophies to keep, just on the off chance that they could hurt humans. That what happened to my parents happened to someone else. But with every pair of eyes on me now, I didn't feel so brave. And who are you? Dear human, the alchemist asked, cocking his head to one side with a simple curiosity, like he hadn't just accused someone of genocide. She's a werewolf hunter. Or was, until she found out that she was mated to one. But even with the mate bond destroyed, she has chosen to remain sided with us. Ajax rambled. If the king was angling for distraction, it didn't work. But pretty make whatever she was regrouped and rerouted the conversation. She is no concern right now. Nigel, please explain what has happened to your people. Please tell us how you know that it was the werewolves that are responsible for this. The man seemed to flicker once just as I blinked. My throat constricted. Was I about to pass out? Is that what this was? I placed my hand on Ryder's thigh, an anchor keeping me whole. His hand came on top of mine, steadying me. Nigel, the accusing alchemist, met Ajax's cool gaze and began. We were never strong in numbers. As we all know, my breed has trouble reproducing as many of us do. We are able to give potions of fertility and love, but seldom allowed to have such things in our life. It didn't take the werewolves long to slaughter us, one by one, like the sirens, rounded up like cattle. And why would we do such a thing? Keiko demanded, a hitch in her voice. Why has any war been waged? Sweet Keiko, Nigel prompted. Cower. That is absurd, Keiko protested. Her hands were clasped together in her lap, knuckles white. Stephanie, Quentin, grab them, and be quartered. Two massive beings appeared out of seemingly nowhere. Stephanie was a stunning woman, so tall with broad shoulders that I was certain she intimidated most men. Quentin was equally massive with hands that seemed large enough to wrap around my skull and crush it with one single squeeze. I didn't need to know what they were to know that I needed to be frightened of them. All right. Ajax rose from his chair, though he was doing his best to maintain normalcy. There was certain jerkiness to his movements as he stepped around a couple guests, moving towards the hulks that were acting as security. This is a huge misunderstanding at best and a blatant lie at worst. But I am perfectly fine with being locked up for a couple days while this is sorted out. He turned his back to the two enforcers, clasping his hands behind his back. His chin was held high, something that could have been read as amusement in his eyes. And you, Queen Keiko, will you come willingly? Quentin asked. Ajax whirled around, eyes alight with something I had never seen in him before. I have tens of thousands of community members that rely on our leadership. I have given myself up. You can hold me in a cell all you like, but we cannot leave the community without leaders. I go. Keiko stays. He ground out. Now I am sorry, King Ajax, but that's not how this is going to work. You rule together. You work together. We can't risk having her free at a time like this. She will be coming with us, one way or another. We have a child. We can't just leave our kid. Ajax snarled. The regal ity was lost. In its place was the primal need to protect loved ones. Well, we'd be more than happy to take the child into custody as well until a more permanent solution can be found. Ryder leapt to his feet and went to his king before the werewolf could dig himself deeper. Don't worry about Clem. She's with your mother-in-law now. They'll give her a call and explain everything. Just don't make this worse than it already is. Ajax melted for a moment. Defeated. I had seen this man 1,000 days, seen him ride out 100 emotions, but this was an unfamiliar to see. Keiko came to stand by his side, head up, eyes wild. She was doing the respectable thing, but even with her mouth clamped shut, she would not go quietly. I watched Ajax's head tip towards her. Keiko, please. I don't. We rule together, she said sternly, not glancing at him. The two of them were led out of the conference room. No cuffs, no rope, no threats, not even a hand wrapped around the biceps. The less the humans outside suspected, the better, I assumed. Ryder didn't return to the seat beside me, just stared at the doors open and stayed long after they closed. I fear there is not much more that can be said at this time. Whatever is left of the meeting will not be productive after that. The fairies are not in attendance anyway. I do not want to dismiss you all on such negative terms, but we will reschedule for a few weeks down the road. Hopefully when we are able to reveal more information. Werewolf bastards, someone hissed. But is anyone even surprised? Another responded. Then everyone rose from their chairs, some for the snack table. Others circled in tight groups to whisper. Ryder just stared, and I just sat. It wasn't possible. I knew that Ajax and Keiko would never order something like that. I had seen and heard the grief and fear when they wondered if they truly were the cause for Wolf. But would they have to answer for the crimes if one of their own had committed them? Someone had to be accountable. But why on earth would anyone go after alchemists? Weren't all these species more beneficial alive than dead? Mutt, Max blurted, moving like a liquid as he came to Ryder's side. Watch your mouth. Bloodsucker. A glimpse of the knife, twirling man from the shed peeking through. Max immediately put his hands up at a surrendering position. I meant no disrespect. Habit. What do you want? Come to tell me that werewolves are attacking vampires as well. I came to offer you help. Max hissed, stepping closer to Ryder as he lowered his voice. You might not be aware, but your royals were just taken out of here to be held in a prison. I am very well aware. Then you understand that they will need you. On the outside. To help them. How am I supposed to help them if I don't even understand the case against them in the first place? Ryder snarled. You're heated and I understand that. But between the sirens and this, things are getting out of control. I have known the wolves for centuries. I cannot say they are free of charge, but I knew prejudices run deep. These creatures will not believe a wolf trying to prove an other's innocence. When you need someone to verify your story, I will stand with you. Max slipped away into the crowd. I watched others side-eye Ryder, saw them turn away and hurl verbal accusation at one another. The werewolves, the damned, the greedy, the violent. Too much animal in them. Just like the work ants. Though thankfully those were taken care of by the humans. We have to get them out. Ryder managed when I finally collected myself enough to go to him. I took his hand and led him over to the refreshment stable where I poured him a glass of mint and cucumber-infused water. I put it in his trembling hand and watched him as he sucked it down. We have to get out of here. Then we can help them. Right now. I think everyone in this room wants to eat us alive. Ajax gave me his keys. We can take his car. He croaked. I gripped his hand hard again and pulled him along with me. I felt like every step I made was on crumbling earth. I was dizzy. My ears were pounding. My eyes watered randomly, blurring my vision. I bumped right into the alchemist himself. Eyes studied me for a moment. Then I had to zen. In a voice that was softer, different from B, said, "What a shame to lose the bond when you could have been cured otherwise." Chapter 80. What the fuck did he even mean when he said that? Ryder hissed through clenched teeth. We were back at the Royals' cabin after frantically fleeing the building, our hands shaking as we tore out of the parking lot. Thankfully, Ryder was a more level-headed driver in these situations and he got us home safely. It had been 2 hours of numb silence. Then I owed a zen. Everything came crashing down when Noah Ajax us right. Handman spotted us tearing down the driveway. He greeted us chipper-ly, then remembered that we had left as a group of 4. And he saw how pale and shaken we were. Ryder dumped out the entire happenings of the conference in one go. Awkwardly, reeling backwards, surging forwards as he recalled details. I had never been so grateful for Noah in my life. Not when he carried me around the house. Not when he kept Keiko in check and kept her from straight up killing me in the beginning. As Ryder vomited more information onto the poor man, he grew more and more serious. When Ryder finished talking and slumped against the porch, Noah had absorbed everything he needed. He called Keiko's mother to sort out the situation with Clementine. He contacted Hades. He booked a flight to get himself to Denver so he could get on top of logistics. He made time to hug us both tightly, though, promising that we would be okay. His reasoning was that we would be okay because we always were. Ryder looked like he wanted to melt into the earth and never resurface after that. But I grabbed his hand and tugged him inside the home, away from prying eyes. The anxious energy refused to let me be still. I tried to calm myself down by brewing us 2 cups of tea, but neither of us touched them once they were steeped, both of us pacing around the office. Now it was just me and Ryder replaying everything all over again. I don't know what he meant. I admitted. It might have been an offhand comment. It might have been nothing at all. Or it could have been an admission of guilt. And there was a chance. A chance that the mate bond that we had lost could have been kept intact. Do you think that we were on to something? Do you think that the alchemists have something to do with this? It's a little hard to discount it now. He sighed. I don't know what he was looking for, but I didn't stop him when he riffled deep through the drawers of Ajax's stately desk. All I could really focus on was the lines of exhaustion bracketing his mouth, the dark rings under his eyes. We shouldn't have left. We shouldn't have ran out of there like we did. We could have cornered him and demanded answers. We did the right thing, Ryder countered. We were in a room filled with people who were doubting our integrity. Even if we did last more than a few minutes without everyone tearing us limb from limb, there was much more we could do. No one would believe us if we started accusing the people who accused us. We get framed for slaughter, then we turn around and point a finger at them. It sounds suspicious. The whole thing is suspicious, I said. I felt like I was getting hysterical. And they didn't even give Ajax or Keiko a chance to defend themselves. How could they? If I called the police and said that you killed dozens of people, I'd like to think that they would want to hold you and question you for at least a couple hours. He slapped a desk drawer shut, the stress and shock transitioning into something darker. And honestly, who fucking knows? The werewolf community is huge. If one of them made the choice to go after alchemists and sirens, we would never know. I fell into one of the massive armchairs, all energy leaving my body in one big push. I was defeated. I just wanted this to be over. I just wanted to wake up in my own bed and to live a life that didn't involve beings that defied science. Illnesses that couldn't be explained. Mate bonds that could be broken. Are you okay? Ryder asked gently when I scrubbed my eyes with the backs of my hands. Fine. I think. The stress is getting to me. My eyes are hurting and doing weird things. I felt like when I was looking at Nigel, the alchemist, it was like he was shaking or something. Ryder stilled immediately, his head jerking up from whatever he was searching for. What do you mean? I tipped my head over the backrest and stared at the ceiling. He was just uncomfortable to look at sometimes. That's all. But it was probably just the stress or something. I'm fine. Really? He stared hard at me for a moment, those mercury eyes alight with something ugly and danger, a mix between concern and rage. Then, in a blink, it vanished. No, that's not possible. There were no fairies at the meeting. You're right. It must have just been something stress-related. You didn't sleep good last night, and we've both had a fair amount of screen time recently. We both melted a little after that. It was done. Whatever was in motion was already happening. There was nothing we could do about it. We picked up the teas we had forgotten about. They were long cold now, but it was the least of our concerns. Ryder sat in the king's seat. I sat across. Numbness crept into our bodies, always waiting to take the front seat. I couldn't understand how this was getting more tangled. I couldn't understand how the alchemist could appear and cause such a great stir. When I heard that there had been an alchemist at the event, I had been almost certain that our prayers would be answered. Everyone had been. Keiko reeled us all back in. Ryder let out a heavy sigh, flipping through whichever book lay on Ajax's desk. I just crossed my arms on the desk, resting my head in the crook. The clock on the wall ticked on and on. I closed my eyes, wishing that the world would stop spinning, just for a second, just so I could get my legs under me. Ryder flipped the page. I wished my life was different for the 1000th time. A slurp of tea, cup on coaster, flip of a page. Something wafted into my hair. I lifted my head and blinked my blurry eyes. The photograph lay before me. Oh, sorry. It must have slipped out. I jerked my hand up to stop him when he reached out to retrieve it, because I knew these people. Some of them I had met only just today. Bax was in the photo, so worse ever a leather creatures, all of them impeccably dressed. There was Ajax and Keiko. His arm was wrapped around his queen, who looked as stone, cold as she had today, and on Ajax's left was a couple I knew well. I just didn't know her with gazelle, like horns poking from her hair, and I didn't know him with pointed ears. Ryder, I croaked out, slowly turning the photograph so it faced him. My index finger was jammed down on Armand's throat. These are the people that I used to work for when I was at the CAF. These are the people who led the werewolf hunters. You're sure? He whispered yes. Where are they now? Georgia? I don't know. That Lila will. Chapter 81. There was no time for questions. I darted over to the printer that Ajax had, making dozens of copies of the photo. I left a scribbled note, stating that if we did not return, Noah was to call whoever he could and tell them that the people in the photo were the same people who orchestrated hundreds of werewolf murders. Then I tucked two original back in the book, collected my copies, and followed Ryder out the front door. We clambered back into Ajax's vehicle and were off. Why does Armand have ears like that? And why the fuck does Dawn have horns? I demanded. Ryder's grip was so tight on the steering wheel it was a miracle that he didn't break it. Fairies. They're the leaders of the fairies. The High Rulers is what they call themselves. Fucking bastards. They didn't even show up to the meeting. How could IVE never have seen them like that? I saw them once a week for years. I should know what they look like. And I did. I could pick Dawn's posture out of a crowd. I could pinpoint Armand just by hearing his voice. But whatever these creatures were, it was the people I had come to know. The ones I had trusted. Fairies are masters at manipulation. They can use glamour on humans and sometimes beings like us, without even touching you or uttering a spell. They can control how you see them. For beings as powerful as they are, it would take almost no effort to convince your human mind that the ears are normal, that the horns were never there. That's crazy. That's insane. Come on. Georgia, after everything that you've seen today, this cannot be the peak of it. And I suppose it was. I just never thought that the kind woman who swept in and comforted me when my parents could be anything other than human. We fought together. We raised our weapons together and went after werewolves as one. Well, not together. Never really together. Because Dawn and Armin would never get their hands dirty. Always giving orders, but always on the sidelines. Jesus Christ. I knew that I had begun connecting the dots. There were small lines to follow like the cinnamon buns. I consumed it. I was driven right into wolf drain. My parents ate them. They died. I hadn't wanted to believe it. I would let myself. Because those were the people who had become my family when I had nothing. I'm going to fucking kill them. I whispered. No, absolutely not. Are you out of your mind? They took everything from me. And they destroyed your community. I shrieked. Blood was only fair. In fact, it didn't seem like enough. I wanted to kill their children and make them watch. I wanted to do awful, horrible things that no sane person should have been able to conjure up. Do you think that I don't know that? The vehicle revved under his heavy foot, but he sucked in a deep breath and the speed eased. Georgia, I don't know what's going to come of this. I'm just asking you to keep a level head. You're going to want to fucking strangle them, and I get that. But if a werewolf and his once mate just slaughter the leaders of another species, wars will be started, especially when our leaders are already being held for other crimes. Fuck, wars have been started for less. Well, what do you suggest we do then? I demanded. Let them walk free. Oh, we're going to get them. And we'll drag them before a council by their throats if we have to. You can do whatever you need to. Just don't kill them. They can admit to what they've done, but I will not let you stoop to their level. And right now, we just need to find out where they are. It was getting dark outside by the time we pulled up to Milo's house. The little makeup I had on this morning was long gone now, and Ryder's suit was rumpled and stained. I'm sure that I would have been exhausted if I had the chance to be. Instead, I stomped up to Milo's front door and pounded my fist against the metal. I went again and again, slamming harder into it, slapping my palms down, kicking with the toe of my shoe. Finally, it creaked open. Georgia. Ryder had said I cowled and killed on an Armand, but for a moment, I was all right with that. My hand went right to Milo's pale throat, shoving him back into his own home while I thundered. Where the fuck are they? Milo had been trained just as well as I had, if not better. Surprise might have been on my side, but rationality was on his. I was fed by rage. He was fed by survival. One swift punch to the gut had me doubling over. Oh fuck, Ryder said from behind me before wrapping his arms around me. I wasn't entirely sure if it was to protect me as I wheezed in a breath or if it was to keep me from lunging at Milo. What the hell is going on with you? Milo demanded. Then his eyes narrowed at Ryder. He moved towards the two swords that had been mounted on the way, so decorative to the unassuming. What have you done to her? Tell me where Dawn and Armand are. I yelled, clawing at Ryder's arms. I was going to end this. I was going to get to those fuckers if it killed me. Or someone else. Georgia, please. HES not going to help us if you're acting like this. It was a fair point, and I knew in my core that Milo was not the one I wanted. And even though my parents were dead, even though I wanted someone to pay, Milo did not deserve it. My teeth remained gritted tightly. My body coiled to strike. But I hissed out, Dawn and Armand are not human. And I think that they created Wolf, Drain as a reason for humans to go after werewolves, to do their dirty work. Georgia, you're talking crazy, Milo said, wariness creeping into his voice. Show him the picture, I ordered. Ryder was nervous to let me go, but did as I said. He unfolded a paper copy of the damning photo, handing it off to Milo. I've never met them in person, but I would know them anywhere. He said, these two are fairies. High-powered fairies that could easily cover up any features that would make them stand out to human eyes. But here, you see them in their true form. Milo said nothing. He just stared at the photo hard. His gaze came up to meet mine once, then back down at the photograph. There is no way. This photo must be doctored. It's not, Ryder said flatly. You didn't trust them, I pointed out, feeling like mine was clearing. You left. You knew something was wrong, even if you couldn't pinpoint what. Bay Woodland. Wolf Drain can't be a lie. Wolf Drain can't be something made up. We've seen it time and time again. We know it's not fake. But fairies are. They're from children's books and myths. They aren't real. Horns coming out of people's heads like that aren't real. This is a sad excuse for Photoshop. Milo, come on. Ryder can turn into a wolf in the blink of an eye. Horns are nothing compared to that. Nothing. And I was fine being around Ryder all the time before I met with Dawn. She fed me food. My parents died. I got wolf drain. I didn't want to see it then, but I see it now. I cannot tell you how or why, but I know that they are behind this. Tell me, did they ever once go in the field and all the time you spent with the hunters? Milo glanced away, swallowed hard. No, but that doesn't immediately mean that they created wolf drain. Everyone has treaties with everyone in the supernatural world. Fairies cannot cross werewolves without risking slaughter of their own people. But if they put humans in the middle, they kept their own hands clean. And how are you going to prove this? And who the hell would listen? The council would. Ryder interjected. I narrowed my eyes on Milo. And Armand and Dawn are going to be the ones to confess what they've done right to the council. So you're either going to tell us where they are or we are going to go to Vale Mount and tear that whole goddamn town up until we find some answers. What's it going to be? Milo,